Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your Elvinus Shorty. Fuck ice. Yes, it's been a while. The last couple of weeks has really been, there's not been any new releases, but they tend to sell out really quickly, and there have been stuff where I've only ordered, a very limited number of spares, and sometimes they just sell out before I have a chance to read them. This one, I have been looking forward to, because it's the last Starfighter, and I was a kid when this movie came out, and I generally had to put a bit of thought into it when I was reading it. I honestly think I may have only watched this movie once. If I watched it twice, it would have been maybe like a week after the first watching when a friend wanted to watch if they came over. This was back when I was in junior school, like primary school, and friends come around to watch videos was just a thing that happened. But my memories of it, I've got to admit, were a little bit vague. I have an understanding of the plot in terms of dude really good at video games gets to go and be a space hero. Like, cool. I don't think I really did much else. I have strange memories of something to do with needing to sit absolutely square on for targeting, but that might be from something else. But this begins and ends my recollection of this, but that's okay. Because I was kind of worried when it came to comic book artists coming out that it would just be there for the nostalgia of it all. And I have spoken a couple of times now on the problems with nostalgia, specifically about how you can play around with it and have fun with it and stuff like Grommets, which is one of my favourite comic books. This one, I think I'm going in with a right frame of mind in that it was a very long time ago that I watched it. I am a very different person than I was back then. My memory is vague at best, so I'm kind of encountering it with just along the lines of I could never have seen the movie. I could have read the back of the VHS box. I think I'd have come into this comic book with the same level of understanding. So, is it good with that in mind? I've got to say, yeah, it is. I mean, artistic first, it's brilliant. And even though the cover is kind of glowy with bright light and a little bit of kind of lens flare, internally it does not go that way at all. It feels far more lo-fi and grimy. Not in a way which makes it think that this effort hasn't been put into it. This isn't loose and scratchy. It is highly professional, highly clean-lined. It looks amazing. Every character is fantastic. The world is brilliant. The colouring behind it all is amazing. But the colouring is one of the things that occurred to me at first. It is very low. It is very deep. It is very rich, low in the register throughout, but not boring with that. This isn't just an awful lot of greys and browns. The colour palette is wide and varied, but all on the very low end of it. It gives it a really nice sense of intensity without it being shiny chrome and neon lights and the aforementioned lens flare. It is actually really intense in its own particular way, and the colours used for the different scenes really set the mood. And again, throw into that just how good the line work is. And to say this isn't a big action comic book, we don't have starfights going on in here. There's some ships in motion and there's little bits of action and peril in there, but this is a much slower burn. So we get to see the artist just really go to town on individual characters and set pieces, and it looks brilliant because of that. But I don't mind the fact that it's slow. I think the fact that it spends quite a bit of time just setting its stall is a good thing. I've got to imagine there's a whole bunch of people my age who might have recently watched The Last Starfighter, but I imagine most of them are in my kind of shoes where they watched it as a kid and have fond memories of it. So having a few pages just doing a very basic little run into what happened in the movie and then catching you up is good. But then it sets up an awful lot of the world as the way it is right now after the events of the film. It introduces a whole bunch of new characters, some new political issues, and characters' places within those politics. And because it's doing quite a bit, I think it doesn't spend that long on the main character, or at least the main character from the movie, which I don't think is a bad thing, because they do introduce some of the characters, including some femme characters, who, because the original movie came out in the early to mid-80s, trying to remember exactly, it is very much the kind of film where Bechdel would not have been happy with it, and I can see why. So introducing these characters and doing an awful lot of world building to make sure that when the end reveal happens and it builds up to what's going to be happening in the second issue and beyond, we haven't spent as long with the hero. I don't mind. I hate to say this, I don't think it's a big critique of either the movie or this comic book, but he is kind of vague. It's almost like, the writers of the original story and potentially of this comic book like the idea of him being somebody that kids watching it at home and reading it at home can put themselves in his shoes and imagine that, yeah, You could just be somebody who's really good at video games from a small town, and you get to go off and do something amazing. So, to make that as an open proposition for as many readers or viewers as possible, you need to keep him a little bit vague, so you can easily stamp yourself on it. Like I say, not a criticism, but it does mean I'm looking forward to what else we can get from him and the other characters it carries on. I certainly will be reading issue 2, that's for sure. That's for me for now, though. Until I see you all again, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe.